Another question is Lucy Roseup is asking, how regular is all these levels of geomagneticity? Or I guess just, maybe that is kind of the word. Geomagnetic volatility, you could say. Just seems strange to me, but I'm new to these charts. Seven's the weather, usually this in flux. So we have right now more of these sort of geomagnetic storms because it is solar maximum. That really kicked off in 2024. Though we had some solar storms back in 2023 that were strong, but it really kicked off in 2024. Really, the high mark so far with geomagnetic activity was back in May. May 10th to the 12th, the Mother's Day storm, G5 storm. That was a big one. We also had another big storm in October, which was close to it in scale, but not as significant. We've had a lot of other storms in between. But during solar maximum, you get a lot more geomagnetic storms because you have more activity from the sun being flung out through the solar system, and some of that inevitably hits Earth. We're going to have solar maximum through 2025 into 2026, and then we start going down in 2026, 2027 in the descending phase. And that is also a very active time because during that descending phase you still have a lot of solar activity flinging out. It's only until you get to solar minimum that things really cool off, and then the ascending phase is typically fairly quiet as well. It's more maximum and descending phase that are the most active, especially geomagnetically on Earth. 44% of all geomagnetic storms occur during the descending phase based off of the most recent solar cycles, like the past 3 or 4. So that's a good amount.
Yeah.
Now,
thank you.
Another question from Katya is, how does the eclipse and solar storm amplify each other? Well, that's interesting because, for example, we already know that when the moon is in the magnetotail, that can enhance a geomagnetic storm because it's playing with the plasma and the magnetotail. There's like a flux tube of plasma there. It's a whole bunch of things they call it. Flux tube, plasma sheet, whatever. They're all just kind of trying to describe how the plasma exists in the magnetotail. But that's some of the most highly energetic plasma, traveling at the fastest speeds. When the moon swings through that, it can cause some destabilizations and enhance geomagnetic activity, also through some other mechanisms. When the moon's in front of the Earth, that can cause the solar wind to become more noisy and the field swings to get bigger, like 5 nanotesla, even up to 10 nanotesla bigger in the swings. And so with an eclipse, you have the moon exactly aligned with the sun-Earth plane, that ecliptic plane. And so if you have, for example, the new moon coming up on the 29th of this month is going to be a solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse. It's going to be exactly on that ecliptic plane. If we have a solar storm sweep by right at that time, just let's say by happenstance, then it's going to create more noisy solar wind. Or with the full moon on the 14th, if we have continuing geomagnetic activity.
Because my nieces are born. Okay, the first one is born on 3/31 of 2022, which, in my opinion, is the first day of the year. Not every year, just like Easter and things like that, they fluctuate. But there is something to those 2 times of year, no question about that. The 2 equinoquial. I'm creating my own words on his show, so why not here? So funny. So it was just like we had the new moon in February. It was very eclipse-like behavior. So was October 14th because, okay, there we go. Not the new moon in February, but the new moon in March. Wait, we haven't had the first day of the year yet, actually, because that's the whole point of April Fool's Day. And we haven't made it to April yet. And I'm in no hurry because things are going quick enough. But, yeah, I had kind of always thought the first day of the year started on the beginning of the spring equinox. However, I am kind of voting that, well, first off, nobody really knows because we weren't there. We don't know it's 1,000 years at it taking what is going on, right? But we definitely don't know. Well, we do know that it doesn't make a lick of sense for the beginning of the year to start when the sun is in its complete fall and utter lowest spot. So with that, I have 2 nieces, one born on 10/14 of 2022, which was the new moon in Aries. So a new moon in Aries while the sun is also in Aries, making her a double Aries, which was eclipse-like weather, and the first new moon after the spring equinox, I believe, is the first of the year, from what I can tell. I always reserve the right to change my opinion. But, so they're cosmic babies. And then it's interesting because this eclipse that we have coming up, okay, wait, I told you about 3/31/2022. And now he just said 3/29, but 2025. So here on the 29th of this very month, we're going to have that solar partial eclipse, I believe. So it's right close to her birthday. 3/29 versus 3/31. Other than that, my other niece is born on 10/14 of 23 the following year, which was an eclipse here in North America that many of you probably saw and got to witness. With that, carry on. All right, so I just find that interesting because he's mentioning the 14th of March, this 14th coming up, blood moon eclipse, which I, for whatever reason, feel that very much ties into things like the new moon, or let me rephrase, the blood moon of January 19th of 2019. For some reason, it feels very familiar in some ways, like patterns coming through and, well, recognition of patterns if you are wise enough to see them. And like whatever might have been going on in January of 2019, as well as in December of 2020, when we had the grand conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter, I feel that, and I have a feeling that if I have a feeling, I do though, I have a bit of an inner knowingness that if I was to go back and look at the astrology from, well, it matters, the 12/21 matters of 2020 with the Saturn and the Jupiter, because they're both out there in the sky. I mean, visible, let me rephrase. Well, Saturn, you can't, it's hard to catch him at night, but interesting. Let's let this man continue, but I'll come back when I come back to it.
On the 14th, then that full moon being right there also.
So interestingly, on 10/14 of October, when my other niece was born, that was an eclipse. He's talking about the 14th of March this month, which is when the first niece is born. Anyway, very cool.
Perfectly aligned with the Earth-Sun plane could perhaps amplify that a little bit as well. So there's not a direct connection, but there is a little bit there that you can work with. Thanks, Tommy T, for joining the Soul Tribe. And Diva's mom is asking, will this all cause people to be more aggressive? The moon, that is. So many leaders seem
His answer's awesome.
Aggressive recently. Well, I think that's more to do with the double retrogrades that we have right now, especially the Venus retrograde. And we have a bunch of energy moving into Aries if you look at Western Tropical. And so this is just a preview. The next 14 years are going to be like this with Neptune and Aries. People are going to be really kind of like aggressive with that. We're entering into a period of greater conflict based on Western Tropical astrology. But we also know when there's greater geomagnetic volatility, that can also just cause people to be a little bit more volatile. Metabolism's ramped up, energy is just a little bit more volatile. And so, yeah, that doesn't help. And then you have Venus retrograde, Venus being the planet of people, relationships, and harmony and peace. That going backwards through Aries in her fall is not really a good signature. And so, just an interesting data point, that meltdown that occurred in the White House between Trump, Zelensky, and everyone else, right? That whole just whatever nonsense, both sides of it was nonsense. That occurred right as Venus was stationing retrograde. So, there's something to this stuff. So definitely. Expect that to continue all the way till mid-April. But then it's going to take on more of like a background, like more even, you could say, kind of conflict-driven energy will be in our deep subconscious because of Neptune being there. That's just a possibility. I think that's going to be the case. So, that's it for the questions. Let us move on to our Cosmic Connection meditation, and then I'll wish you all well, and I'm going to have my dinner. Because I have not eaten dinner yet.
Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus.
I was going to, and then I saw that this was all happening.
It's all happening. If you guys don't know about this guy, check him out.
Yeah, stage. It very well could be staged. I'm glad you